everyone. This is chapter 6 of The Homeless Kitten. Which one's your favorite? Mara leaned over the kitten pen, admiring the 3 kittens. Lily had emailed her best friend to tell her about their amazing discovery, and Mara had been desperate to come over and see the kittens as soon as she'd gotten back from her trip to Spain. They were about 5 weeks old now, big enough to walk around really well. They stomped all over each other, squeaking loudly, and they were always wrestling and jumping out at one another. They loved playing with all the toys Lily had persuaded Mom and Dad to get from the pet shop, too. Their favorite was a feathery stick, a bit like a feather duster, and Lily spent hours waving it around for them. Dad had found a big, shallow plastic storage box in the attic when he was looking for the sterilizer, and he'd brought it down to use as a pen to keep the kittens in. It meant they had space to move around, but they were safer than they would be loose in the kitchen. But it hadn't lasted long. They still used it to sleep in, but they'd learned to wiggle and scramble their way out after just a few days. Stanley, he's my favorite, Lily said, pointing him out. He's like a little fluffy snowball. He is cute, Mara agreed, but I love the stripes on the other 2 as well. Isn't it a lot of work looking after them all? They're starting to eat real food now, special kitten food mixed with a bit of their milk. At least that means we can just feed them really late at night and then early in the morning. No one has to get up in the middle of the night anymore. Lily reached her hand into the plastic box, and Stanley staggered determinedly towards her, flicking at her fingers. They're so cute. If it was me, I don't think I'd be able to give them away, Mara said, lifting one of the tabby kittens into her lap. They were both girls, and Carly had named them Bella and Trixie. You spent your whole summer vacation looking after them, but then you don't get to keep them. That doesn't seem fair. Hold on, there's a picture. Anyways. I know, Lily sighed, but we were never going to keep them. They were originally supposed to go to another foster family as soon as they had the space. But when Amy came to check on them a couple days after they came here, she said we were doing so well, maybe we should just keep them until they were ready for rehoming. And luckily, Mom and Dad said yes. She smiled as Stanley butted his head against her hand and let out a squeaky little mew. It's not food time yet, baby. So they won't go to the shelter then? Their photos are up on the shelter website already, but they'll just send anyone who's interested in adopting them to us. So at least the kittens won't have to get used to a new place. Mara nodded. And I guess you'll be able to see if the people are nice? Lily nodded. She didn't like thinking about the kitten's new owners, especially not Stanley's. Even though she was making the best of it in front of Mara, she couldn't imagine not having a box of kittens in her kitchen. But they already had Hugo. Do you think Hugo would miss them? Mara asked as she heard scrabbling at the kitchen door. Lily opened the door, checking that the kittens weren't about to dart through, and Hugo trotted in immediately, coming over to inspect his kittens. Definitely, Lily stroked his nose. He does that every time he's been out for a walk. He has to come back and make sure they're all okay, yes. Don't worry, I looked after them for you. Trixie's over there, see? Hugo was looking around for the other tabby kitten, and when he spotted her peeking out from behind the kitchen trash can, He went to round her up, gently nosing her back towards the plastic box. He wants them all in the box the whole time, Lily explained. He's like a sheepdog, herding them around. She watched proudly as Hugo picked up the tabby kitten in his mouth and dropped her, wriggling back into the box. I thought he was biting her, Mara said, looking a bit worried. No, he's so gentle. He just holds them in his mouth. Their mom would have done the same thing. Oh, Hugo, look, Stanley's coming out now. The white kitten was clambering out of the box, half falling, half jumping out onto the kitchen tiles. Hugo seemed almost to sigh. He lay down in front of the box between the two girls, making a big furry barrier between Stanley and the rest of the kitchen. Stanley nuzzled him nose to nose, and both girls awed. Stanley marched along the whole length of Hugo and started to pat at his feathery tail as Hugo twitched it from side to side and then jumped on it with fierce little growls. Hugo watched him, clearly enjoying the game. As soon as Stanley was clinging on with all four paws, Hugo switched his tail faster so that the kitten swept across the floor, and both girls burst out laughing. They go together so well, Mara said, both of them white and fluffy. I know, Lily nodded. They really did. If only they could keep Stanley, he and Hugo would be a perfect pair. Lily giggled as Stanley wobbled down her bed. Stanley had been with them for a month now. He wasn't very good at walking on the squishy comforter, and he kept nearly falling over. He stopped to inspect her teddy bear and then jumped at it, sinking his tiny claws into the ribbon around its neck. Lily was so busy watching Stanley she didn't notice the gentle scuffing noises from outside the bedroom window. And then there was a loud hiss, and she glanced around in surprise. Pixie was standing on the sloping roof, peering in at the open window, the fur on the back of her neck raised. This picture. She was clearly furious. This was her place, and now there was another cat. Oh, Pixie, no! Lily stared at her anxiously. What was she going to think of Stanley? She'd been in Lily's room a couple times since they got the kittens, but Lily had quickly shut her door so Pixie didn't go downstairs. This was the first time Pixie had seen one of them. Lily froze, not sure whether to grab Stanley or try to shoo Pixie out. She didn't want to push her back through the window in case she slipped. Pixie came farther in, climbing into Lily's windowsill and hissing loudly, her tail fluffing up. No, Lily said sharply, seeing Stanley cower behind the teddy bear, his own fur starting to stand up too. Pixie, out! This isn't your house. She sat up, trying to grab Pixie. Perhaps she could take her downstairs and put her out the front door. I know you've been here before. I'm sorry, Pixie. Ow! Pixie had swiped her paw down Lily's arm, leaving 2 bright red scratches. Then she hissed again, spat angrily at Stanley, and darted back out the window. Lily shut the window, shaking. There's a picture. There you go. Pixie had never scratched her before. Then she glanced around at Stanley. He was huddled into a tiny white ball on her bed, and he looked terrified. Oh, Stanley, I'm sorry, sweetheart. It's okay. She's not coming back in. Gently, Lily lifted him up in her cupped hands and snuggled him close against her t-shirt. It's all right. I'll look after you. Shh. I wish I could just look after you always, she added sadly. The shelter had called Mom that morning to say a lady had seen the kittens on their website and wanted to come and visit them. She was interested in the 2 tabbies, but Lily knew it wouldn't be long until someone wanted to take Stanley too. Stanley huddled against her, his heart thumping. He didn't understand what had just happened. He had been enjoying playing with Lily by himself without his sisters climbing all over her too. He loved it when she fussed over him and played with him and then let him snooze on her lap when he was tired. But suddenly the other cat had appeared, one that Stanley had never seen before. Hugo nosed his way around Lily's door and padded across the room. There's a picture. Did you hear Pixie? Lily murmured. She was really mad. Oh, you can smell her, can't you? Hugo's ears had flattened back, and he was sniffing at Lily's bed. Then he nudged Stanley gently. The white kitten rubbed his head against the huge dog's muzzle, and then stepped back with a squeak as Hugo licked him, his big pink tongue practically covering the tiny kitten. Hugo, Lily giggled. Look at him, you flattened his fur. They're so beautiful. I wish we could take all of them, but I think 3 cats might be too many. Ktten smiled at Lily and Carly and their mom. You've done so well raising them. They're really big and healthy looking. You did an amazing job. Mom put her arm around Lily's shoulders. To be honest, it was mostly Lily. She's worked really hard. She even did some of the night feeds. I can't believe how big they are now. 7 weeks old. The time's gone so fast. Too fast, Lily thought to herself. I suppose if they were still with their mom, it would be too early for us to adopt them, Ktten said thoughtfully. It's very lucky for us getting to have such small kittens. We're really grateful, aren't we, Jack? Her little boy nodded. He had Bella on his lap, and he was running one finger carefully down her back all the way from the top of her head to her tail over and over. Bella was nuzzling his hand, purring, and Jack looked as though his dream had come true. Even Lily hated the thought of someone else taking her lovely kittens home. She could see that Cadence and Jack were going to be amazing cat owners. At least they were only taking Bella and Trixie, she thought sadly. She wondered how Stanley would feel all on his own. Stanley watched confused as the strange people put his sisters into a cat carrier. They were mewing, not sure what was happening, and he squeaked back anxiously. Where were they going, and why wasn't he going too? He hurried to the edge of the plastic box as the kitchen door opened, and they all started to walk out. Those people were taking his sisters away. Panicking, he clawed his way up the side of the box, his paws slipping, and scrabbled out onto the floor to chase after them. There's a picture. But the door closed before he was halfway there. He sat under the table and mewed frantically. He jumped up when the door opened again and Lily let Hugo in. The big dog came nosing under the table and lowered his head to Stanley. He licked the kitten with one great swipe of his huge pink tongue and then slumped down to the floor next to him, resting his muzzle between his paws. Stanley patted at one of Hugo's long white paws, nibbled at it, and then snuggled warily into the kitten-sized space between Hugo's paw, and his nose curling up into a sad little ball. And that is the end of chapter 6. Goodbye.